Hi, my name is Cindy Kurash, and I know it's weird that you see me in my car, but these days, with COVID, you get your Wi-Fi wherever you can. And for me, that sometimes means in my car. I'm the coordinator for the physical education, teacher education program at UW-Madison, and I'm thrilled to be able to share a little bit about our program with you through Grandparents University. First of all, thanks to the grandparents who are spending time with their grandchildren to join us, and thanks to the grandchildren who've selected physical education as one of the programs that they'd like to learn a little bit about. I don't know how it was for you, but physical education of the past has been a little weird. In the 60s, it was pretty crazy intense, if you can see from this picture right here, mostly because, after the war, our country recognized that we weren't really in very good shape. So we took some pretty extreme measures. But one thing that's really interesting about that is that the government of the United States saw that physical education was a way to really make a change in the way that our society looked in terms of our health. Um, there have also been some experiences, maybe you've had some of these in terms of physical education that were not exactly the best in terms of emotional health. You might have taken a ball in the head at one point. I know I sure did. Um, but this is kind of what we like to think of as the physical education of the past. Um, and with all that in mind, and thinking about the fact that physical education has been seen as one of those areas that can really have an impact on society, let's start today by just looking at what some of the problems are in society. So you can see from this image that obesity is sort of the central issue for a lot of our healthcare problems in society today. And you can just read around the outside: diabetes, sleep apnea, osteoarthritis, and heart disease are these are really big issues. Many of them caused or exacerbated by obesity. And so, can we get a handle on obesity maybe and make some sort of a difference or some inroads in a healthier America um, by dealing with obesity? Loneliness is also an issue, and I think it's sort of understated. Although now that COVID has made it actually worse, and we've been alone a lot more, I think people are recognizing that loneliness really is an epidemic as well. Some studies say that over 40% of the American population represent themselves as lonely on a regular basis, and a lot of young people, ages 14 through 24, recognize that they are in a really lonely time in their lives. So loneliness is something that we really should also consider if we want to make a difference for people in terms of their health. The other area of health that really is something we need to consider as a society is that area of mental health and mental illness. And we know that we are just really starting to get a sense for what's under the tip of that iceberg in terms of, what's going on with mental illness and how can we actually, make some inroads and deal with that in a positive way. So those are the issues, right? There's a lot of bad stuff going on. And then the question becomes, do we as a society, or those people that want to help, do we try to prevent those things from happening? Or do we focus on the restoration of that kind of lack of health when it happens? Well, Hippocrates, who is the father of all physicians, actually has this really interesting statement. And he said, the function of protecting and developing health must rank even above that of restoring it when it's impaired. So even Hippocrates, who was a physician himself, recognized that really what's most important is that we work to try to prevent and develop, or try to protect and develop health before we have some of these big issues arise. So then the question is, how do we do that? Well, I would like to suggest that physical education is a really great way to serve as the cornerstone for how we can protect and develop health. We have access to students in schools for 13 years, in which physical education is usually a part for most of them. And if we do it well and we do it right, we could really make a difference here. So, how do we do that? Well, first of all, we really need to change our focus in physical education. It can't just be on creating athletes or developing fitness. We really need to start thinking about the whole person. And we know, and you probably know from your experiences in PE, that it's not just a body experience when you're in the gym. I mean, there's a lot of social sort of information that occurs, and a lot of social issues and opportunities to develop socially that, you know, present themselves in physical education. But in the past, physical educators haven't done a really good job of intentionally teaching those. And in addition, there are some really cool cognitive concepts that we can teach in physical education as well. So the change of focus needs to be for us from just the physical to the whole entire body, including the body, mind, and heart. So how do we do that? First of all, we establish an environment, and not just the physical environment. We really need to make physical education begin to be a place that is safe and where people feel emotionally safe, physically safe, and willing to take the risks necessary to grow, while supported by people in their class that enjoy the same kinds of things. So how do we change that feeling of physical education as this really competitive sort of destructive, emotional kind of experience to a really caring, compassionate environment where individuals are encouraged to grow in all three areas of health? And then we need to train teams, which is really where my job comes in. I mean, my job is to help develop physical educators who can create that environment and then put together curricula that really helps students, their students, experience all the potential growth they can. So in all those different areas, how can they do that? So we develop tactics, we develop learning tasks, we create curricula that are different maybe from what you've experienced, but which engage our students in all three areas, body, mind, and heart, on a regular basis. So every activity we develop is designed to really engage people in all three areas and develop skills in all three areas. So these tactics are really interesting looking. I mean, this is one that's super fun. We had students who worked together to try to hit a ball up onto the wall, and then they added their scores together to try to get as many home runs as they could. Super fun, but you can see the difference between that kind of an activity and playing like a regular wiffle ball game where there are 3 outs, and if you're great, that's great, and if you're not, you go away feeling pretty bad about yourself. So we changed those. No, maybe not. There we go. It's great. So I could watch that all day. But you can see the difference of, between what's going on in our classes and maybe what has been your experience in the past as well. Okay, let's see if I can keep us moving forward. Okay, so why don't we experience this together? So with your grandparent or with your grandchild, your job is to take a ball of paper and crumple it up, and then just back and forth between one another, just volley it back and forth. So a volley is just like hitting it one time in the air, don't catch it. One time with one hand in the air, back and forth as many times as you can. If you miss, that's okay. Start over again, and then see how many you can get in a row, back and forth. And I'll give you just a second to go ahead and do that. I'll just pause for 1 second and wait. Okay, this is super weird because I can't see you, and I would love to have heard the happy voices and see what happened, but let's explore what happened. So probably a lot of things happened. One is that you probably relieved some stress. You might have been stressed sitting here listening to me, or just being inside or wherever you are. And so hopefully you relieved some stress. You probably well, we know for a fact you stimulated your mind and boosted creativity, because every time you get your body moving and you get, more oxygen to the brain, we know that your mind is stimulated and boosts creativity. You also practiced cooperation with others because your goal was a cooperative one, in which the higher your score, your high score was based on your ability to work with someone else. You probably improved your relationship or your connection with the people that you were playing with. You probably had some smiles and some happy things happen. And again, because you were working together, you probably developed some skills or exhibited some skills that were related to your ability to work together with one another. And we also know that because you were moving in some way, you're creating new neural pathways and you improved brain function. So, all in that little game, you did so many things, and this really is the cornerstone of our program for physical education and what we believe physical education should look like in the future across the country. So we really don't just develop PE teachers, and I know that's a big what, and I'll send this link to you later on. But essentially, what happens in our program is because we are developing the whole person, and we develop skills that allow us to do that. We basically create people that can help individuals grow in all three areas of their life. A lot of our students do work as physical educators, but others work in the healthcare field, in athletics, in financial planning, in business, really in lots of different areas because they have developed this incredibly broad skill set that helps them become really great at developing, creative people and helping them grow. So I'll send a link later on that shows you a lot of some of our individual graduates, and you can explore kind of some of the directions they've gone using the skills that they've developed as physical education teachers. So our program is really amazing. It is a combination of very strong science from our kinesiology department and lots of practice opportunities, including lots of work in the schools and our community where we offer service and lots of practice for students to practice their skills in teaching and helping people grow. We've also produced award winners and leaders in a wide variety of fields, including education, healthcare. We have speakers and award winners at the national level on a regular basis because they again have this great skill set. Most of our students get jobs right away. As a matter of fact, now most of our students are picking from multiple jobs. We have a very good reputation, and students can pretty much pick their job. And we know that every student that graduates will touch the lives of thousands of individuals, and you can understand why that might be. If they're a teacher, they'll be in touch with hundreds of people and thousands of people, and they can influence their lives for good. One other thing that I just want to mention before we leave our time is there's a really cool program now called the Teacher Pledge at the university. I'll send you some information on that too, but only at UW-Madison. Anyone who's interested in becoming a teacher can apply for this program, and they can have their entire tuition paid for as long as they promise to stay in Wisconsin and teach for 3 or 4 years. Now, teach is a broad term. They can actually work in education, but this is an incredible opportunity for anyone who's interested in education. It is really a remarkable program that's been developed for us by a number of donors. But if you're interested in education at all, get in touch with us and we'll tell you more, but it's a really cool program. So thanks again for everything. Thank you for joining in and for playing with a crumpled piece of paper. If you have any questions or you want to learn more, please reach out. I'm glad to talk with anyone who's interested, and I hope you have a good and active day.